Burn calories, control weight. That's the most commonly talked about. And other benefits, diabetes. Why? And that's what I want to explain, why exercise helps diabetes, not by burning calories. Keep in mind. It helps in blood pressure, as I already alluded to. But there is something else, which is I'm going to show you next, which is unique to the South Asians. Do you know what that is? High density lipoprotein, which is a good cholesterol. Can there be a good cholesterol? The answer is yes. This is a good cholesterol. South Asians, like you and I, we have low HDL. And you cannot improve this by diet. There are only a few limited ways you can do it, and one is exercise. So just keep in mind, HDL is very low in South Asians. We already talked about the heart. I will not go into this. We talked about brain, as I mentioned. Bones, we mentioned already, and so is the muscle. Joints was mentioned, aging. And I'll show you at the last slide, correlation between good aging and what happened at the gene level. Skin, we heard it, and cancer, you heard it. Stamina, mobility, injury. Now, insulin sensitivity. Diabetes of two types. Type 2 diabetes, which is most common, 9 out of 10 have type 2 diabetes. What is in that? Insulin is there, it's not working. Why is it not working? And this is a unique feature of South Asians. Insulin is not working in any of us to the same degree as it should. Why? Because of some unique feature that we have. And how do you increase it? By exercise. Insulin sensitivity is increased. So insulin works better when you do exercise. Same goes for the next one, leptin. What is leptin? Leptin is something which cuts down your appetite. Cuts down your appetite. Those people who are a little bit chubby, fat, they have very high leptin. Now you wonder, if the leptin is that high, how come the person is eating? He should not be eating, because that's called leptin resistance. And if you do exercise, leptin becomes more sensitive and you cut down your appetite. Next is frightening. It reduces the blood clot. So if you do exercise, the chances of getting blood clot is very small. Genes. Now there are genetic changes they have noticed in people who do exercise. And I will not go into this because I have something else to say, but there are genetic changes which correlate with good aging, and this has been demonstrated. But let's look at the physical activity in the total picture. When we talk about healthy living and R&D, risk and disease, how important is physical activity comparing to something else? When we talk about prevention of chronic disease, we must take some practical, day-to-day kind of message. How do we approach in our daily life? And look at somebody to do that. Look at somebody who does not have any disease. Those who have disease, don't look at those, but look at those who don't have it. And that will help a lot. And ask why not. and ask why not. So the question is, why do people develop disease in the first place? And we have talked about this many times in these seminars, so I'm repeating it. All diseases, all risks are indeed related to body. Risk and disease happen because of these, and there is nothing else other than these. Is it the genes doing it? Somebody developed diabetes, is it because of the gene? Or somebody has blood pressure, is it because of the gene? I tell you, genes do play some role, but we have blown out of proportion. Second thing, gender. Do female, males have,
Point here.
Okay. Oh yes. There are certain diseases unique to males and females. We talked about this before. Ethnicity I already alluded to just now. And then comes the aging. And if you look at then comes the lifestyle, which is the most important, and part of this is physical activity. Look at a young person, less than the age of 20. I think that's where good start. The chances of that child or adult are very small that adult has any disease. Very small chances. If they do, it is most likely because of the genes. So genetic inheritance, and then they have some problem at a very young age. That's the only possibility there is. Otherwise, they are healthy, at least to look at it. But when they go on to age 65 and over, the same people develop 2 and more diseases. Now, if you look at the Canadian statistics, that's what it is. You look at people in the old age group, they have anywhere from 2 to 4 diseases. Why? And it is go over the same thing that we just talked about. Is it the genes? Probably not. Is it the gender? Maybe. Is it the ethnicity? Certainly plays some role. Is it the age? That's the important point that we are discussing. All diseases start at a young age. It is like an incubation period. You are exposed to something. It takes 20 years, 30 years to develop. That's what happens. And then comes the lifestyle. So talking about lifestyle, there's so many things in lifestyle that we could talk about, but food is the most important one. And I mentioned physical activity here. What is so unique about food? Food is the killer. Food is the killer. And you have to accept it. You may not like to do it. We don't do it, basically. But that's the main problem. And in terms of quantity, we eat 2 to 3 times the normal amount. Now people wonder the role of fasting. We talked about in these seminars. Today, if you look at the scientific medical literature, they talk about fasting and its benefits. But I'm not saying that you go and fast, but certainly there is a message in here that fasting has certain meaning. Recommendation also is that you do not eat 3 hours before you go to sleep. This is the general recommendation now, that whatever you want to eat at such a time, and then you have 3 hours before you go to bed. These are some of the recommendations. We have blown out of proportion all these elements. Protein. What is the source of protein? You have to eat meat. That's not true. It never was true. And we don't need to buy protein supplements and this and that. There's enough protein in vegetarian foods. And you can start from milk and milk products of all kinds. And you have pulses, you have all the nuts, soya. All these things give you enough protein, and you don't need that much in the first place. Second thing is the carbohydrate, that is the worst. Carbohydrate is the enemy in the South Asian community. There are two types. Simple sugars, simple carbohydrates, which is our worst enemy, which is all our Indian sweets and so on. And then there are complex, the rice and all kind of things. And one should watch carbohydrate, particularly the sugars. Again, we talked about fat. In the last 50 years, we have gone a complete circle to say saturated fat, which used to be considered bad, is not bad anymore. What is bad is trans fats. So if you want to use fat, you might as well use a little butter. That's the recommendation. But trans fat, there is no dispute on it. Vitamins, we talked about last seminar a month ago. The South Asians have particular need for vitamin D. We are all deficient in vitamin D, or low, we must take. Vegetarians could be low in vitamin B12. They could be low in folic acid. They could be low in iron. Where do you get these? If you invite speakers, they will all talk about meat as a source of iron. That's not, it's true, but you don't need to go that route. There are enough other resources. The best is cereals. The cereals have added everything into it, and that's all you need. Cereal with some sort of milk and milk product. That will give you enough of vitamins. One thing which we don't do is the minerals. We consume salt 2 to 3 times the amount that we should be taking. Our need is only tiny, tiny little spoon, small spoon. And we consume, did you know that a glass of milk has 100 milligrams of sodium? Everything is sodium. You need sodium to preserve it. So if you add up, your intake goes to 3,500 to 4,000. That's too high. And water, you drink if you need to, unless you have stone formers, kidney stone formers, that's different. So diet is very simple, that we don't need to spend or go and follow these Weight Watchers and this and that. There's no need for it. Despite all the publicity today, when we were having lunch, somebody mentioned about the awareness. Well, we have given this message for the last 40 years. Awareness, education, publicity, knowledge, but it's not working. Why? Total denial. Total denial. Nothing will go wrong. And secondly, the ignorance. But that is the main thing which makes you do that. Why are you emphasizing this point? I don't have any symptoms, I don't have any disease, why shouldn't I enjoy my life? Without knowing that disease inside is in the making, which we cannot diagnose. This is called subclinical stage of the disease, and so long that is the stage, we are fooling ourselves. And we keep doing it, and knowing that this is going to hurt us one day. So this is my last one. What can be taken in day-to-day basis? And I showed this each time as a practical message to me. I should weigh myself every day. Is that difficult? No. You know your height. You have to do it only once. And you calculate your body mass index, which we did it many times. And you should be within your target. These are guidelines, and these are not absolute points. You can do it at home. At least you can weigh yourself every day. And second thing is blood pressure. It's easy. You can go to the pharmacy, get your blood pressure checked, or your family doctor. This is an early warning that something is not right. Blood sugar. If that blood sugar goes up and it is persistent, you are trouble. You have trouble. And the lipid profile, I mentioned the waist circumference here. This is a very helpful thing. You do have to do it once. Take an inchy tape measure and your waist. Now the Caucasians or the Europeans' waistline is different from the South Asians. For example, the Europeans had this total about 100 centimeters, 102, 40 inches. What should it be in males of South Asian background? No more than 90. So there's a 10 centimeter difference. How about females? It's 35 inches or 88 centimeter, and in South Asians it's 80. So there's a difference based on the ethnicity, and this varies from all Europeans, the South Asians, the Japanese, and so on and so forth. It's different. That can be done easily. So these simple things we can do it on a day-to-day basis. So this is what I will conclude here. We can still ask any questions to Heather or to me. Heather, would you like to comment?
No, it's wonderful.
When people go upstairs, is it advisable for them to go downstairs?
It's hard. I tell you what, going down the stair is harder on your knees.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. And we give them a little bit of warning that be careful. Any other questions to me or Heather? If not, we will not have any seminar in December as our system is. So in January, we have somebody coming from the Eye Institute talking about common eye problems, the cataract, the glaucoma, the cornea, and pink eyes, you name it. And then in February, we may have somebody from the Heart Institute talking about the heart problem unique to South Asians. And in March, somebody is coming from the kidney department talking about high blood pressure. And then we recently circulated an email to everybody, problems with allergy, especially to nuts. So somebody is coming to speak to us on these kind of issues. And in May, we have mental health, Alzheimer's Society will be coming to speak to us. So we have lined up all kind of things for you. If you have any topics that you would particularly like us to cover, either you email me or give it to me after now, and we'll try to arrange a speaker for you. And I thank you and all the best. Good holidays.